Good morning. So guys, here we go for another video lesson here in our program Uncut English. And today I have I think it's another interesting topic for us, anybody interested in studying, learning the language, advancing, improving. Well, and then for today, I thought about something that, again, has happened to me several times. But this time, it's about advanced students. And what happens is this. From time to time, I get an advanced student who, in spite of having a good English, advanced English, let me see if I can find a good word for this. It's like they've got, let's put it this way. Their knowledge of the language is flawed. In other words, there's an element of imperfection to it. And it has to do, I trace the origin of this problem with these advanced students. I trace it back to our mother tongue. And then if you will, we go back to why I defend the non-translation methodology, right? Okay, but before I get lost in my thoughts here, let me get back to what I was saying. So I've got advanced students. They speak English very well, but their knowledge of the language, or there's an aspect of what they know about the language that is flawed. It's imperfect. And it's got to do with, and I said it's got to do that I can trace it back to Portuguese, to thinking in Portuguese. And it's very simple. It has to do with the verb there to be in English. And the reason why I trace this back to Portuguese, it's because in Portuguese, the verb to have has got two meanings. It means to have, like to possess something, but also it means to exist. So we can do this with the verb to have. With the verb to have in Portuguese, I'm not going to translate this. You have to think in your mind what is the verb to have in Portuguese. So this verb to have in Portuguese, means two things. It means possession, like you can express possession, but you can also express existence. And the problem is that in English, we have two different verbs for that. The verb to have is the verb to have, and then we have the verb there to be. And here we go. Look, let me just switch the camera here. See? There's a truck right here next. See, I'm here driving and recording this video for you, and next to me there's a truck. There is a truck. It's only one truck. So notice that it would be incorrect in English. Very wrong. People might understand if you say it. I mean, if you're speaking to a foreigner, if you're talking to a foreigner, and you say, "Oh, have a truck here," they're going to get the message. But you're making a terrible mistake, because we don't use the verb to have like that. And perhaps something that might help you in that context is to think that the verb to have is, I was going to use the word regular, but that's going to confuse you with the regular and irregular verbs in the past. No, but let's put it, it's a very normal verb. And a normal verb in English is like this. The grammatical structure in English is very solid. It's very regular. So a sentence in English normally starts with the subject, then the verb, and then the complement. So for instance, if you were going to use the verb to have, you have to have a subject. So for example, okay, have a truck here next to me. But who has the truck? You have to ask the question. Because you see, with the verb to have, you have to have a subject. So for instance, I have a car. This car that I'm driving right now, it's my car. So I have a car. I also have a smartphone. I'm using this smartphone to make this video. So I have this car, I have this smartphone, I have two brothers. You see? Somebody has something. You cannot use this verb. You cannot use the verb to have without the subject. And basically that's it. Plain and simple. But lots of times you want to describe something, and the idea actually is the idea of existence. So for instance, right now, I'm gonna switch the camera here so that I can show you. All right, here. There's a bus stop here, and as you could see, there was a man sitting there waiting for the bus. And now in front of me, ahead of me, there's a traffic light, and I have to stop. So I've just stopped. And to my right here, on the right hand side of this road, you know, there's this glass wall, and this is a kind of it's a gym, you know, where people practice CrossFit. So there's a gym at this point here on the road. On the right hand side of the road, there's a gym. And on this I'm sorry. And on this street here, there are lots of things. You know, there are drugstores, there are gas stations, there's one supermarket, there are lots of offices, there are clinics, and it's a busy street. You know, any time of the day you come here, there are lots of people, you know, riding their bicycles. There are lots of people walking the street. You're going to see here a few people walking down the street. Unbelievable. I'm sorry guys, I was paralyzed because I saw a big truck there who got stuck on the wires, because I think that with the expansion of the internet, you know, more and more companies, they're just, you know, stretching their cables along the poles, you know, the lamp posts that we have on the streets, and they're doing a lousy job, you know. The cables are all messed up, and they're hanging, and I mean, and it seems that they're hanging lower and lower every day. And then, of course, from time to time, there are accidents. So the truck got stuck there and probably broke the cable. And if it's an internet or a phone cable, a lot of people in the region are going to be affected without their internet and so on. Anyway, get back to me. Okay, so as I was saying, so we've got these two verbs. Okay, so this is a sort of a source of confusion for Brazilian students. And I find it really interesting when you get a student at an advanced level, and I have one. Every now and then I have to stop and tell him, man, you've got to use the verb there to be. And then, like I said, I trace it back to Portuguese, because if you think about the reason why he still makes that mistakes, it's because when he uses that verb, his brain is operating in Portuguese, and he's trying to say, oh, look, a car over there. But in his mind, he thinks, oh, okay, I can use the verb to have to talk about the existence of something. Ah, have a car over there. And then he keeps doing that. So that's one thing, because it's a very basic principle. It's something very small, but it can really have a negative impact on the quality of your speech. Because you see, like I said, it's not that people are not going to understand you, because they're going to understand what you're trying to say, but it's going to send a bad message. You know, it's going to send that message that you don't know this, which is a basic thing in English, and everybody should know. So as a teacher, I try to do that. You know, whenever I start teaching someone, especially in the early stages of the course, I tend to spend quite some time on the subject until I can definitely say, okay, now my student has mastered this subject. Now they really understand this verb, what it means, and how to use. And then later, and another thing that I find interesting about this verb is the advanced variations of it, because then later you learn that you can combine modal verbs and auxiliary verbs, right? For example, the auxiliary verb for the future, which is will, with the verb there to be, because what would be the future form of the verb there to be? There will be. But you can do other things with that, you know? For instance, if you're criticizing, for example, if I'm criticizing the government because I think that in this region of the city we need a police station, but there isn't one here. You see, there is not a police station here. Notice that I'm using the verb there to be. There is not a police station here. But there should be. There should be. Also, if I'm trying to make an inference about something, suppose that every now and then one of the business people in the area get their store, their business broken into. There must be lots of criminals in the area. So then I'm combining the verb there to be with the modal must to communicate an inference. And you can do this with the verb there to be and lots of other modal verbs. And so basically that's it. You know, I've just arrived at work and I wanted to take this time to explore this, to explore the verb there to be from the very basic use to a more advanced use. I hope this video lesson was useful to you. I personally think it's very important for anybody learning the language, because even though it's simple, it's easy to learn. It's no big deal. But like I said, especially Brazilian students, we tend to make a very basic mistake with this, because as I said, we make this mistake that it's easily we can easily trace it back to Portuguese, because when you make that mistake, in other words, instead of using the verb there to be, you're using the verb to have to describe the existence of something. Your mind, your brain is operating in Portuguese. So this is Uncut English. My name is Alfredo. See you in our next video. Bye for now.